everybody? This is Brother Rashad with another video of Gospel Thoughts, and I just wanted to pick up from my last video in which I was speaking about rejection and how people that may have always felt rejected but didn't understand why they felt rejected. And my last video, what I what I did was I shared about, well, I began to share about how those feelings may not just be your emotions and your physiology at work, and it probably just isn't. There's probably a demonic influence operating in your life. Now, I begin to share about this because a lot of people, when they think of demons, they think of Hollywood. They think, well, that's what demonic possession or oppression looks like, and that's just not true. They show pretty much the violent forms of demonic oppression. Every form of demonic oppression is not violent. In fact, that's the exception to the rule. And as I pointed out in the last video, you have the different examples of Matthew 12 about the man who had a deaf and dumb spirit. In other words, there was a demon that was affecting the man's sight and his hearing, but it was a demon spirit. The man wasn't crazy. He wasn't a lunatic. He just had an affliction that affected his physical functioning. You also had in Luke 13 about the woman who had a back problem who Jesus dealt with, who had a spirit of infirmity. I've dealt with that spirit myself several times. Demons of infirmity. They will have an ability to affect us, our bodies physically some way, somehow. Then you had in Acts 16 and 16, the woman who had a spirit of divination. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't a lunatic. And she had access to the supernatural and knowledge. And that's why she was proclaiming that Paul and Silas were proclaiming the way of the Lord. But it was demonic. And Paul sensed it and cast the spirit out. So you have several different examples in which people were functioning normally that weren't lunatics. They weren't crazy. They weren't, going around killing people or nothing like that. But they were afflicted. And when it comes to spirits of rejection, literal demons of rejection, they really, and this is my opinion, they can do tremendous damage to relationships. Tremendous. I mean, and we've all have it. I'm calling assume, but you probably come across people who seem very hard-hearted, very difficult to get along with, very void in being sympathetic and empathetic. They're just very stony-hearted. You may have been in a marriage like that, or you may be in a marriage like that, or you may have family members in your family like that, and you're like, why are they like that? Why are they so hard-hearted? Why won't they, or why are they so, why is it so hard for them to express affection? And it could be the fact that they're dealing with spirits of rejection. That's one of the telltale signs that when there's people who have difficulty expressing love and affection, one of the telltale signs is, that could be a spirit of rejection in operation in them, which they just don't know. But what happens is it enslaves them. It puts them in bondage from being affectionate. And we as human beings, we're supposed to be affectionate. We're supposed to be loving. That's part of our nature because we're made in the image and likeness of God. What is God? Well, one of the scriptures we read about, First John 3:16, is God is love. And if we're made in his likeness, then we should be loving like him. So, anyway, in the last video I dealt with, I was dealing with the demon of perceived rejection, which is a very debilitating spirit because what happens is a person with perceived rejection will do exactly that. They will perceive that you're rejecting them when you're really not. But in their minds, they believe it because it's a spirit there that will lie to them and say, hey, so-and-so over there doesn't like you because, he has X, Y, Z going on and he thinks they're more valuable than you. And And you could be in a relationship with somebody and they're really thinking that, and then all of a sudden they say, "Well, I don't want to be with you anymore," because they feel as though you're rejecting them or you're going to reject them, which works hand in hand with the fear of rejection. That's a demon too. But nonetheless, what I wanted to talk about today is the spirit of self rejection. Self rejection is, just to give you a broad understanding, is it's people who struggle with low self esteem, have no self worth. They feel inadequate. Um, they can be very, very attractive on the outside, but they feel very ugly on the inside. Um, they're just very, very, um, they have a low self esteem about themselves. And unfortunately, a lot of people who deal with self rejection also deal with depression because they have a low self image about themselves. They usually go the pathway into depression, and then some take the next step in being suicidal. I've dealt with folks like this, and it's common. When you have a low self esteem about yourself, so I'm talking about this in physical terms, usually people get depressed because they feel like they're not worth anything. And then they get to the point where it says, well, why am I even here? No one cares about me, etc. And it's all linked to self rejection. Um, the one thing I will share about that is this: when it comes to the spirit of self rejection, is not only an operation by itself, but again, it will also operate with spirits of depression and spirits of suicide. All of them are demons, and they all lie. But the telltale sign again is the persons feel this way. They feel it. It's real to them. Like, I believe someone when they say they feel that way. I say, yeah, you probably do feel that way, but it's not you. It's probably the demons expressing themselves through you, through your emotions, and through your mind. It's amazing when people get set free from these things, how different they feel. It's just like any other demonic affliction. I don't understand it myself. But one thing it seems like they do, they have the ability to put pressure. They put pressure on your mental faculties and having these strange thoughts, but also pressure in your emotions. But the incredible thing is when people get set free and delivered, usually one of the things they experience, almost instantly, is they feel lighter. They feel lighter. They feel like the weight has been lifted. Their emotions aren't as weighty in those areas of, oh, I feel horrible about myself. They feel like they've been free. Because when it comes to demonic oppression, that's exactly what they do. They will enslave your emotions, and they will enslave your mind. And it's based on, a lot of it is lies and just all types of filthy things, but they have a way to do that. Now, I don't know how they do it, but I also know they respond to the authority of God. And when we repent of our sin and confess our sins, and we begin to command these things to come out in the name of Jesus, they respond. So, when it comes to self rejection, if you're asking yourself the question, like, I don't know why I feel this way about myself. I've been struggling with these feelings of negativity concerning myself for years, and I don't even know why. That's probably because you're probably dealing with some type of demonic influence. Now, it is true that there are cases in which people may have been abused by their parents, abused by their classmates, abused by their husbands. And I'm speaking verbally, and then they begin to actually believe the lies coming through their parents or their mates or their classmates or whoever, and then they begin to believe it. And that's also another pathway for demonic oppression. But then there are some instances where the people have been loved all their life. They've been loved and cared for and everything, and they still feel that way. Well, that's an indicator that you're probably under the power of demonic oppression. Now, One of the things I wanted to get to, which I think is very unfortunately common in our day, is homosexuality and, and transgenderism. One of the things I've discovered, and this is just my opinion about this, although I have dealt with demons of sodomy, is I believe that especially when you have people who are dealing with, like Lady Gaga made a song several years ago about being born this way, and she was championing the cause for homosexuals and things like that. Um, and when I hear young people or older people saying I felt this way ever since I was a little kid, I believe them. I believe some people make that choice later on in life, when they maybe are experimenting with the opposite sex or the same sex rather. But I believe other people, they may have potentially been or felt that way ever since they were a little kid. But I don't believe that that means that that is an acceptable way to live. You see, you have to understand. Again, coming back to self rejection, if you begin to reject your sexuality, that's demonic. Because if you're made as a man, then you're supposed to be a man, not a woman. But can we see how the reality of how powerful lies can be? And I'm not even saying you don't feel that way. I'm saying you probably do feel that way. What I'm trying to say is those feelings are probably, I'm not God. I'm just speaking from a person who's have experience in this ministry. Those feelings are probably not your own. Those feelings are probably demons expressing themselves through you, in which you feel like I want to be a woman, or vice versa. I want to be a man. If you're a woman, yeah. That those feelings are real, but I would say it's probably linked to self-rejection because you're rejecting your sexuality. You're not. You wasn't created to reject your sexuality. See, demons have that real. They have real power in that sense that they can convince you of this because you feel this way, and a lot of stuff is based off of feelings. But I know for a fact when people get delivered from these things, those feelings they're like they go away, or the suicidal thoughts stop. And it's amazing because when it comes to homosexuality, transgenderism, a lot of times, as many different reports have went out, that many of the people who are in that community, they suffer from depression. And as I said a second ago, usually self-rejection is associated with depression and then suicide. And these things will do everything they can to destroy you. But that's why we have Jesus. He comes to bring life to those who are in affliction, those who are spiritually dead, and those who are just in bondage. And again, those who have been suffering from homosexuality from a youth, I don't know why you suffer from that. I can speculate. It could be something that it was a fact that is a generational curse in place. It could be someone that's in your family that was in your generational line that was heavy into some type of say immorality. They may have owned a sex shop, or they may have been a homosexual themselves somewhere in your family bloodline. They may have experimented in those things or been very, very promiscuous, and then bam, the door's open for all types of perversions to come through. And then you're just born feeling that way, although it's not true. So self-rejection can take on that very root. These things are ugly. And I know that what I just mentioned may offend some people, but it's the truth. I'm trying to help you. I'm not trying to hurt people. Like I said, I've dealt with people from all different types of different demonic issues, whether it be lust, rejection, self-rejection, perceived rejection. The next video I'll probably make will be fear of rejection. And they all work hand in hand to a degree. But anyway, let me end this video. So if you have any questions, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be talking to you guys very soon. All right, be blessed.